Hello, everyone. So today we're going to continue our series. And the first question I have for you, sis, is how do you manage family finances and decision making, especially with growing expenses related to feeding, childcare, clothing, and education?
Yeah, I feel that's a hot button issue. The first thing I would say it's very important to have a joint account with your spouse. So having that joint account will be helpful for bills, like for childcare, and also for child education. And also having my own separate account is helpful. The most important thing I would say is setting priorities. So we have to know what's important. Like, for example, making sure that we're paying the bills, and making sure that other things are there that we need, like housing and like paying little, like electricity and other bills that it takes to run a home. So those are really important. And as far as feeding, I found it helpful to cook at home because you can control your own ingredients and your own food. Plus, it's also cost saving in the long run. So that's something that I like to do. Sometimes I would order food, like cooked food that my family and I enjoy, and then maybe add a salad or avocado on the side. So essentially, it takes out that burden of having to think about what we're going to eat every day or cook every day, and I can either freeze or refrigerate. So typically that is also cost savings in the long run. It also removes that added stress of feeling like I have to cook every day, but still getting a nutritious meal. So how about you? Same question for you. How do you manage finances that it takes to run a home?
Fantastic. Well, one thing I do for sure is talking to my husband, we decide what is a need versus a want. So that's one key thing that we do. Sometimes we really want something, but is it really a need? And so, for instance, like for your child, certain things are needs, like you need a stroller, you need a crib, certain things are needs. Clothes, you can really decide if you want to spend on high end or just a low budget, but the turnover of clothing is so fast. So I would personally recommend, having a few sturdy, durable pieces of clothing for your child. But another thing I would say is to really ask God for wisdom in your finances. Sometimes people don't do that. And I think just praying about it is important, as well as being consistent in tithing. I believe God really enjoys and is proud of us when we tithe. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But if you're able to tithe and help the poor, or we personally give to organizations that take care of orphans. So I think that's part of helping with our finances. Sometimes you don't think you have enough, but if you give what you have away to someone who is in need, you'll be surprised at how God will just bless you, how someone would just text you randomly, hey, here's $200 for your child, and out of the blue, but just all because your heart is open to being generous and giving to help God's people. I would say certain key things that we did were to, have a central location with like a monthly statement and bills, whether that's in Excel, or you can choose what works best for you. But you can budget everything you have your monthly expenses, and that can really tell you the areas of depletion where money is going out of the door, and you can help to identify ways to reduce excess spending. Like you, I also believe in a joint and a separate account. Again, as a couple, you can decide what you want to do with your joint accounts. This is usually, for most people, is for the big bills like your mortgage or your rent and car notes and all that. And then you can use certain amounts for childcare, feeding, and all that stuff. But the biggest thing is just communication and just having open dialogue with your partner. Again, I can't stress it enough. Making sure you choose things that you actually need. You can splurge a few times here and there, but for the most part, it is wise to really focus on things that you are going to help you, or something that you can reuse and repurpose, or something that is just going to be a waste. I have another question for you. What financial resources or government programs are available that people can use and that can help them with family costs?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question and concept, because it's important to know that you're not alone. If you are struggling, or if you need some help along the way, there are resources to help you, to help people. I know usually when we go to our pediatrician's office, they have flyers just advertising for people who need food assistance, and also like different resources like clothing. So it's, I would say first start with contacts that like your doctor's office, or even if you go to the library, they might have resources there for you. Or more importantly, you can go to your state's Department of Human, or your county's Department of Human Services, or a similar agency. So that way, that's a very good starting point, so they can let you know what types of resources that are available, and you can find out which ones you are eligible for. So there is help in as far as that goes. And even I know some colleges and universities have affordable childcare services on campus, or if you are a student and a parent, there's food assistance programs. And also don't forget, if you have any local nonprofits and food banks, those will also be a good resource to find all those basic needs. So you're not alone. You can always reach out and, make use of these resources. And on the other side, for those who'd like to contribute, I'm sure there are also ways, like you mentioned, like for organizations that work with orphans or different groups of people. So whether you are seeking that assistance, it's there, or whether you'd like to contribute and help out. So there are different opportunities for that. Also wanting to ask you, so we're talking about childcare, like what types of childcare options did you explore, and what ways did you prepare for childcare?
Well, there's so many options, but there's just a couple I could think of. The first one would be just immediate family help. Do you have a grandmother, whether it's your maternal grandmother or paternal, or just a great grandmother, someone who is in your immediate family that you can trust and count on to take some time off to come help. And so for me personally, I was able to do that. Both my mom and a great grandmother kind of figure who's been part of my life for a long time, she also came to help. So those are ways you can prepare, and by talking to these people in advance so they can take time off from wherever they are to travel and come down. Other options are like daycare places within your community or city or town that you live in, and there are in-home daycare services. There are commercially available daycare services, so you can look through Google and on Facebook groups just to see what options are available. And then another thing that you can also try that I think is really cool is like a community family help or community family support. So what that really means is you can consider looking for groups and joining these groups that are involved in childcare support, whether it's through the church or your own neighborhood. And that support could look differently for different people. So ultimately, that's something that we ended up doing. In addition to immediate family help, we were able to kind of get involved in this community family help structure. Again, it could be like local family members visiting and willing to help, or a rotation of support for more than one child at a time in a specific home. So there's a different flavors of ways people do this, but ultimately these family-minded people really believe in the saying that it really takes a village to raise a child. Yeah. So that is something that I would suggest.